Welcome to part 2 of the week 7's video series. In these videos we are learning SQL and we are implementing it in PostgreSQL DBMS. In the first part of these videos we learned what a database is, what table is, what SQL is, what an RDBMS is, and we installed PostgreSQL. So in this video we are going to start learning SQL commands from scratch, and we will be learning these commands till intermediate level. In the next video we are going to start learning advanced SQL. So without any further ado, let's begin. As I said before, in the first video we installed PostgreSQL on our PC. So in this video we are going to start learning SQL. Let's click window button and search for PSQL. Let me click SQL shell. It will open up this black screen. Let me write localhost because our server is installed on this PC and press enter. The database is Postgres for now. The port is 5432. The username is Postgres. We will write the password that we defined at the time of installation. So let me press enter. Now we are connected to the Postgres database. As I said in my previous video that to show all the databases we can use a command that is \l. If I press enter, it will show all the databases. Remember that in the previous video we had only 3 databases: Postgres, template 0 and template 1. I have added another database by the name of e-commerce and it has data already entered to it. So let's connect to this e-commerce database. Remember, currently we are connected to Postgres database. To connect to another database, we can add a command that is \connect, and we will write the database name that is e-commerce. Add a semicolon, press enter. Now it says that you are now connected to database e-commerce as user Postgres. We can also use \c instead of writing the whole connect word. We can write to \c and write the database name e-commerce and add the semicolon, press enter. Again it says you are connected to database e-commerce. Now we are inside e-commerce database. If I want to clear this screen, I can add a command that is \, exclamation mark and CLS. Because I am on Windows, so I'll write CLS. If I press enter, it will clear the screen. So we are already connected to e-commerce database, and if we want to see all the tables of e-commerce database, we can add another command that is \d. So if I press enter, it will show all the relations. Relation is another word for table. Inside database we use the word relation for each table. So we have 5 relations or 5 tables. One is customer, then we have order items, orders, product and transactions. If I want to describe any of the tables from this database, we can again use the \d command with the table name. So if I write customer with \d, add semicolon and press enter, it says, oh, I misspelled it, so let me write it again, \customer, add semicolon and press enter. It will show the description of this table. So remember, this table has 5 columns: ID, name, email, phone and address. In the first column we see that we have the names of the columns, then we have type, the data type of each column. For example, ID is of type integer, we will only give it integer values. Name is of type character varying, it accepts 100 characters per value. Then email is the same, phone is the same and address is the same of character varying data type. We will not touch collation, nullable and default for now because this is the very basics and we are just starting it. So just we need to understand the column name and its data type. Below you can see under indexes that customer P key is the constraint name or the index name it is the primary key. As I explained in my previous video that each table or each relation in a database must have a primary key. We can have a relation without a primary key, it will accept it, but the rule is that each table must have a primary key because we need a field that can uniquely identify each record in a table. So the primary key is the ID column. We know that ID is integer and this is the primary key of this table. Then it is also referenced by orders table. Remember that in my previous video I told you that whenever there are two tables and they have a relation with each other, they must be connected with a common field, and that's called a foreign key. So table orders actually references this ID column of the customer table, because in orders table we have a foreign key column by the name of customer ID, and that ID references this ID column of the customer table. Let me show you the orders table as well. Let me write \d and write the table name, that is orders. Add semicolon, press enter. So orders table has 4 columns: ID, customer ID, order date, and amount. So these are the data types. Now you understand what a data type means. Orders P key, the primary key is ID. So here the ID column is again the primary key of this table. Below we have constraints. FK orders customer, this is the constraint name. It is a foreign key constraint, and the customer ID of this table, orders table, references customer table, and inside customer table it references the ID column of that table. So these two tables are connected through the customer ID field. In orders table, the customer ID references the ID of the customer table. I hope you understand the primary key and foreign key concepts. If you do not understand these concepts, you can check my previous video. I have explained it there as well. So you can describe all the tables through \d. Let me describe one more table and then we will move on. Let me describe transactions, and this is the transactions table. It has ID, order ID, payment date, payment method, and amount. So by using \d we can see all the tables of a database, and we can see a specific table as well. Let me clear the screen. Now let's start writing SQL commands. In this tutorial, for most of the times we will use DQL, data query language, which is select command. We can use different variations of select command to fetch data from this database. So first of all, let me write select, which is used for fetching or retrieving data from a database table or multiple tables. For now, we will use select to fetch data from one table. So we have select and from. Remember that select is not case sensitive. If I write from all of them in capital letters, or if I write it in lower letters, it doesn't matter. Both of them will work in the same way. So we will write select, then we will have some spaces, and I will write from. Select command actually tells the database that I want to select these columns or all of the columns from this table. Then from mentions the table name to the database, that the select command wants column names from this specific table. So select is used for mentioning the column names, and from is used for mentioning the table name to the database. So if I want to see all the records of the customer table, I will write select star from customer. This is the first query that I will write. Here the star means everything. So I am saying that select everything from customer table. Star says give me all the columns. So instead of mentioning all the columns separately, we can say select star from customer or select everything from customer. Let me add a semicolon. Remember that each statement in SQL must end with a semicolon. If I press enter, it will give me all the records from the customer table. We can see the ID, we can see name, email, phone, and address. So all the records from the customer table are shown here. We can see only 19 records in this first page, and then we have a word more. If I press enter, it will show all the data because it cannot display all the data at once, but it has fetched all the data from the table. So I don't know how many records are in this table, but we have a lot of records. Let me press Q to end this query. Again, if I want to see all the records from another table, I can write the same query, select star from product table. Let's see how many products do we have in this database. If I press enter, it says that there are only 5 records in this product table. So we can use select star for fetching everything from a table. Now if I don't want to see all the columns of the customer table, and I want to see specific columns like name, email and phone, I need to specify their names instead of writing star. For example, if I write select, I want name column, comma, email column, comma, phone from customer table, add a semicolon and press enter, it will only show name, email and phone columns. It will not show all the columns. So instead of writing star, if I want to see only specific columns, I will need to mention their names specifically to the select statement, and it will fetch only those columns that we have mentioned to it. Do you see that whenever I write the SQL statement and we want to fetch all the columns of the customer table, the statement returns all the records of the customer table. We do not know if there are 1,000,000 records or 1,000 records or only 100 records, but whenever we run the query, it returns all the records. Now the question is, what if we do not want to see all the records and we want to see specific records? For example, we want to see only those records whose ID is less than 20, or whose ID is greater than 20 or 30, or who has a specific name. Can we write these queries? Yes, the answer is yes. We have another class, that is where class, where we specify a specific condition, and that SQL statement will fetch only those records that meet the given criteria. So let's write that statement. I want to select all columns from customer table. We understand this statement up to now. Now we need to add another class, that is where. Where is also a class of SQL. Just like we have select class, we have from, now we have where. In where we specify a condition, and this statement will return only those records that meet this condition that we are giving it. For example, I'm saying select all the columns from customer table where ID is less than 10. Add a semicolon. So it will return only those records whose ID is less than 10. If I press enter, yes, this time it does not return all the records. It returns those records whose ID is less than 10. We can see that starts from 1 and returns up to 9, which are less than 10. So these records meet this specific criteria. We can change these conditions as per our needs. Let me change it again. Select star from customer table where ID is equal to 5. So I want only that record whose ID is 5. So if there is one record, of course there is one, because this is a primary key field, and primary key field does not accept duplicate values. So if there is only one record with ID 5. If I press enter, it returns Larry Mason. So this is the record whose ID is 5, and we can see it here as well. Now we can specify a condition with specific columns as well. For example, select name and email of those employees from customer table where ID is less than 3. If I add semicolon and press enter, it will return only those records name and email whose ID is less than 3. We cannot see the ID because we did not mention it in the select command. If we write it again, select ID, name and email from customer where id is less than 3. This time we will have same two records, but this time the id is also included. So we can add such conditions in where class. Now there are different types of comparison operators that we can use, all of them in the where class. Let me list them in a notepad. So we have equal sign, we have not equals, we have greater than, we have less than, we have greater than or equal to, and we have less than or equal to. So these are the comparison operators that we can use in where class to return the data that we need based on conditions. So for example, if I want to specify another condition where this time I do not want to specify the condition based on ID, but I want to specify the condition based on name column, then we can do that as well. For example, if I write select star from customer table where name is equal to a specific name, so I can do so as well. Because name is a column whose data type is character or string, which is not integer, then I need to mention this in single quotes. Whenever we are writing strings or text or dates, we need to add them in single quotes. We cannot just write string in front of equal sign or somewhere else in SQL, but we need to add them inside single quotes. So there I'm saying that select star from customer table where name is equal to Larry Mason, and I need to close the single quote, add the semicolon and press enter. So it returns this record of Larry Mason. Similarly, we can add a condition based on email, phone and address. So I hope you have gotten the idea. As I said before, we can mention all of these comparison operators here in the where class. So I've used equals, I've not used not equal, I've not used the rest of them. So let's use greater than or equal to, and then we will move on to the next one. So let me say that select all from customer table where ID is less than or equal to 5. This time it will include all the records whose ID is less than or equal to 5. It means it will include 5 as well. So if I press enter, it returns records from 1 to 5. If I do not say less than or equal to and I only mention less than, it will not include 5. Let's check. If I remove the equal sign and say where ID is less than 5, then it will return 1 to 4 and it will not include the 5th record. Now what if someone wants to see records of those people whose ID is in a specific range, not less than or greater than? For example, someone says that give me those records whose ID is greater than 10 and less than 20. It means the ID is between 10 and 20. How can we do that? We can use the logical operators. With comparison operators, we can use logical operators as well, like and, or, and not. These three are logical operators that we can use in SQL commands, and we can return results based on these conditions. So and, if we use and, it will become true when all the conditions are true. So if we are giving it 2 or 3 or more conditions, all the conditions must be true, and after that it will return true. If any one of the condition is false, and will return false. Now coming to or is the opposite of and. It will say that only if one condition is true, it will return true. So if there are 10 conditions, 9 of them are false and only 1 is true, or will return true as the final result. What not does here, not converts true to false and vice versa. So it converts true to false and false to true. Let's check all of them. The first one, and for example, I want to see records of customer table whose ID is between 10 and 20. So I will say select all from customer table where ID is greater than or equal to 10. I want to include 10 and 20 as well. And remember, we need to specify and, just like we have and in English. So and ID is less than or equal to 20. This condition will return those records whose ID is between 10 and 20, including both of them. So here I have specified two conditions. We can specify as many conditions as we want. Let me add a semicolon and press enter. Now it will return those records whose ID is between 10 and 20, including 10 and 20, both of them. Now what if we want to add more conditions? Instead of two conditions, we add 3 or 4 conditions. We can do that as well. For example, if I say select all data from customer table where ID is greater than or equal to 10 and ID is less than or equal to 20, and another condition, name is equal to Deborah Wallace, like this. If I add a semicolon and press enter, it returns only one record, and that's the last record with ID 20. Because these two conditions return 11 records, but the ending condition, that's name is equal to Deborah Wallace, only one record meets this condition, and that's record number 20. So in AND, all the conditions must be true at the same time, and after that, that will return a true. If any of the condition is false, it will return false. Similarly, we can add multiple conditions using OR. But remember, in OR, if only one condition is true, the ending result will be true. So if I say select all columns from customer table where ID is equal to 10 or name is equal to Deborah Wallace, add a semicolon and press enter, it will return 2 records. Because ID is equal to 10, this condition is true for Monica Payne, and name is equal to Deborah Wallace, this condition is true for record number 20. So it returns 2 records because both of the conditions are true for any one of these. So the first condition is true for record number 10 and the second one is true for record number 20. So this is how we use and OR. Similarly, we can use NOT as well, which converts true to false and false to true. We will see that later on in another example. We have another operator, that's N operator. N is used to define a range of values, and select command will fetch only those records that meets the criteria of N operator. For example, I can say that give me those records whose ID is 1, 5 and 10. So with the use of N, we can specify a range of values or a range of criteria for our where class. So let me say that give me all columns from the customer table where ID is in this range. ID is in 4, 6, 10 and 20. So if I add a semicolon and press enter, this will return those records whose ID is in this list. With the use of the N operator, we can define a list that will be given to the where class, and select statement will fetch data based on that specific list. So if I add a semicolon and press enter, it will give me those records whose ID is 4, 6, 10 and 20 only. So with the use of N, we can give a list of values. We can use the same N operator for character data types as well. So if I say select star from the customer table where name is in this list, name is in Larry Mason, comma Monica Payne, comma Deborah Wallace, close parentheses and add semicolon and then press enter. So it gives only those records whose name is in this list. So we can use an operator for giving a list of values. We have another operator that is between and, which also specify a range of values for the where class. For example, if you want to select those records whose ID is between 20 and 50, we can specify that range with the use of between and. So let me write between dot and dot. So this between and is used for specifying a range. Let me write select star from customer table where ID is between. Remember, as I said before, SQL is case insensitive, so we can write it in lowercase or in uppercase. Between 30 and 40. So give me those records whose ID is between 30 and 40. If I add a semicolon and press enter, remember it returns those records whose ID is between that specific range, 30 and 40. Remember that 30 and 40 both are included, so none of them is excluded from this range. Both 30 and 40 are included, and select statement will return both of them. So we can use between for specifying a range. So we saw some operators, logical operators, comparison operators, an operator, between an operator. What if we want to work with strings or text data type? And for example, someone says that give me all those records whose name column starts with A, or give me all those records whose name consists of only 10 characters, like that. Can we solve these questions in SQL? The answer is yes. We have another operator that's called like operator, and we use like operator along with some wildcards to fetch data according to specific condition based on text data type. So we use like with wildcards. In SQL we have two wildcards. One is underscore, another is %. So we have these two wildcards which are used along with like operator to fetch data according to specific conditions. Underscore is used for one single character, and % is used for everything. So % means everything, and underscore means one specific character or one single character. Let's learn these by the use of examples. So first of all, I want to fetch only those records whose name starts with A. So what we can do is to select star from customer table where name like. So I will use like operator, and I will specify the condition inside single quotes, because as I mentioned before, we use single quotes for string and date data types. So select everything from customer table where name starts with A. So the first character is A. I need to mention A, and after that we don't know what there is. So after that we add a % sign, and % means everything. So if there is anything after A, we don't care. We just want to see only those records whose names start with A. So the first character is A, and after that there is a % means anything, we don't care. Add a semicolon and press enter. So it returns those records whose name starts with A. Alice, Anita, Antonio, Andrew, everything starts with A here. So you will not see any other record that does not start with A. Let me end this. Let me clear the screen. Remember that I told you before that SQL commands are not case sensitive. Yes, that is true. SQL commands are not case sensitive, but the values that we give inside a condition, they are case sensitive. So for example, if I say that give me all the records whose names start with a capital A, I mentioned capital A, then it will return only those records whose name really start with capital A. If I mention a lowercase a, it will not return those records with capital A. It will return only those that start with lowercase a. Let's see this in an example. So select star from customer table where the name like %. This time I don't want to mention capital A but lowercase a. If I add a semicolon and press enter, it returns nothing because there is no record whose name starts with lowercase a. If I change the same condition again to capital A, it will return the same result that we saw before. Now let's see another example with the same %sign. Select star from customer table where name is like. So I know the first name but I don't know the last name. I'm saying that where the name is like Larry, and after that I don't know the second name of Larry, whether that is Larry Mason or something else, I don't know. So I'm saying that select all the records whose name starts with Larry, but after that we do not know anything. So we do not know what comes after Larry. So instead of mentioning the name, we add a %sign, that means anything, close single quotes, add semicolon and press enter. It returns Larry Mason, Larry Hayes, Larry Thompson and Larry Garsha. So the first name, we mentioned that the first name is Larry, but we do not know anything else after that. So therefore we added %sign. Similarly, we can use the underscore wildcard with like operator to get specific results. For example, I say that select star from customer table where name is like, for example, the first character is A. I don't know the second character, so the second character is missing. Instead of one single character, I am adding an underscore. Then for example, just write N, the third character is N, and after that we do not know what comes after N, so I am adding a %. Let me close single quotes. This means that give me all those records whose name starts with a capital A. Then we do not know the second character, but we know the third character is N, and after that we do not know anything. So after that, if there are 5 more characters or 10 or 20, we do not know them, but we just know that the name starts with A and the third character is N. Let me add a semicolon, press enter, and yes, it returns all those records that meets this specific condition. So that is Anna Santos, because the first character is A, the third one is N, Anna Trujillo, and Jones, and Anna, and we have till the end, all of them that meet this specific condition. Let's write another example. Let me clear the screen first. Select star from customer table where name is like this condition. So the name starts with for example M, and there is A, the second character is A. We do not know the third character, we do not know the fourth character, and the fifth character is for example N, and after that we do not know what comes. So that is the condition. Let's see if there are records available with this condition. Add a semicolon, press enter, and yes, we have 2 records that meet this criteria. One is Mason. Yes, it starts with MA, and the fifth character is N. Yes, so at Mason, and then Mason Lopez. So both of them meet this specific criteria, and the select command will return these records. Similarly, we can add more conditions. Let me add the final condition. Select everything from the customer table where name is like this. For example, name, we do not know the first character this time, but we know the second character is A, and we do not know the third character. The fourth character is for example S, and we do not know what comes after that. So for anything that we do not know, we will add the %sign, add the closing single quote, add a semicolon and press enter, and only one name is there in this table that meets this condition. So the first character is C, we do not know that. The second character is A, we knew that the second one is A, so yes, it has A. The third, we did not know the third one, so yes. And the fourth one is S, yes, the fourth one is S, so that's Cassandra Nunes. So we can use like operator, we can use AND operator, between AND operator, comparison operators, and logical operators in SQL command to return results based on specific conditions. So today we worked with different SQL commands. We started off with the first select statement, where we learned the syntax of select statement. Then we moved on to selecting specific columns from a table. We saw how to describe a table in PostgreSQL, how to see the columns, the data types, and everything else, how to see the relationships between two tables. After that, we moved on to writing SQL queries. We started with writing the very basic select statement, and we moved on to adding specific conditions, and we moved on to intermediate commands. We learned how to use comparison operators, logical operators, between AND operator, AND operator, like operator, with some wildcards. So in the next video, we are going to learn writing advanced queries in SQL. This is enough for today. Thanks for watching.